Hello everyone, welcome to the course of cybersecurity DOS and DDoS attacks. Okay, so today we'll be covering what are DOS and DDoS attacks, types. Okay, we see the comparisons between DOS and DDoS attacks. Okay, and also we're going to cover the practical aspect where we are creating a lab. Okay, so we are using NMAP in Kali Linux, and with the help of Kali Linux we're going to attack on a Windows machine, but this is just for the education purpose. Okay, so let's get started. I created a document, okay, for DOS and DDoS attacks. So these are the content. I'll also going to share you this document so that you can able to understand. You can also have learning, okay, on it. So first is, what is DOS attack? Okay, so DOS attack is a denial of service attack, okay, that floods the server with the traffic and make the resource unavailable. Okay, so before I start, I'll give you the basic that any organization, if it comes to government or you're talking about the private infrastructure or schools, okay, works on confidentiality, integrity and availability. Okay, so you must aware about these three pillars, okay, to achieve security of your organization, correct? So confidentiality means that all your data must be secure, okay, it's confidential. Okay, integrity means your data cannot be modified. Okay, availability means that your data must be available 24/7 into 365. Okay, now let's take an example that you have a website, okay, where all the data is um, syncing with a web server over there. Okay, you have host from your organization or outside organization also, they are accessing your websites. Okay, so your website basically works on request and respond. Okay, so the end user send the request to the web server and the server will provide them the response. Okay, this is a basic thing I'm telling you. Okay, so every website that has request per second criteria, that how much number of requests a web server can able to handle in per second. Okay, so you can also see on you can also search on internet that it depends on organization to organization. Some of the organization like Google, they have 50,000 plus requests they can make per second. Even they have load balancers also on the web servers and all, so they can able to do that as well. I'm just taking a basic example. Let's say this is a web server that can handle 500 plus requests per second. Okay, so 500 requests can be made, okay, and the server will going to respond properly. Okay, now what attackers do is, so this is the attacker found that this is the web server. Okay, the attacker started sending 1000 plus requests, okay, per second using script. Okay, so she made any script and she started using NMAP or any of the tool. We started sending the request to the web server. Okay, while the attacker started sending it completely against the availability, because the CPU utilization of that web server went 100% and the server is in hung state. Okay, cannot able to accept anything, cannot able to work on anything. Okay, so these are the issues we are facing when attacker started sending 1000 plus requests per second, because the request that can be handled by the web server is only 500, but there is a double request which has been sent by the attacker. Okay, so which is called DOS attack. Okay, this is DOS attack. Okay, so here the same thing I mentioned over here, that The organization works on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay, the attacker sends large number of requests to the receiver, and the receiver can't able to check what's legit and what's illegal, because the request is coming in, and all the CPU utilization of that web server went on 100%, and the website is in hung state now, cannot able to respond it. Okay, so you can see the diagram also here, that I also wrote that this makes the server inaccessible to others. So you can see the attacker bombs the victim with a HTTP request. So he started sending the HTTP request on port 80. Okay, and when the end user, who is legitimate user, who tries to access that web server, cannot able to do it, got failed. Okay, so this is the diagram. Okay, now this is called DOS attack, where there is single user means single attacker. Okay, now let's take the second attack, which is called DDoS attack. Okay, so what happened under DDoS attack is that before the web server has less number of requests, means the web server can able to access less number of requests per second. But now in the modern times, the web servers can access more of the request, okay, per second. Okay, so what basically attackers do is that the attacker that already attacks multiple entities on internet, let's say IoT devices, okay, or we can say rogue servers, okay, or networks, like complete networks. Okay, so the attacker has all the hacked number of devices. Let's say the attacker has 10 plus rogue systems. Okay, so what the attacker do is that the attacker sends 100 plus scripts or 100 plus requests from all the 10 plus rogue systems, okay, to the single web server. Okay, so when number of requests went to the web server is completely down, which is like completely inaccessible. Okay, before it was single user, single attacker tries to send the request to the web server. Now there are multiple IoT devices or multiple rogue systems that are sending the request to the web server. So these are called DDoS attacks. Okay, so the difference between DOS and DDoS attacks are there are multiple attackers in the DDoS attacks. Okay, here the DDoS attack I've written over here is this is the type of attack where the attackers tries to create too much of traffic, which leads to so much congestion to the system or servers or the target applications. Okay, this resulted in slowness in the speed of the system and complete outage. Okay, so I wrote everything here, the same thing which I've discussed, that the attacker has IoT devices, servers, or the networks, okay, collection of networks, okay, with the help of that they are called botnets, okay, and with the help of that they can make a request to number of requests to the single server and make it unavailable. Okay, so now we discuss about the differences. Okay, so here the difference, the first point we have already discussed, that this DOS attack there is a single machine, but in DDoS attack there are multiple machines. Okay, the second option is the DOS attack is easily identifiable because it comes to single location, because there's a single attacker try to access it. But nowadays the attacker also has so much of sophisticated tools that they can change their source IP address and even the MAC addresses, and even nowadays there's also an option then they can add 10 plus random IP addresses and random MAC addresses. With help of that they cannot be identifiable. Okay, so these are the new sophisticated options for them, or I can say sophisticated way to hack or to make those DOS and DDoS attacks. Okay, the third point is the DOS attack is slower than DDoS attack because we it's self-explanatory that there is a single attacker, but under DDoS there's multiple botnets. Okay, the first point is they use a script to execute the attack. Obviously there's a script over there with a single attack, and they used to run it multiple times. But here it coordinates with multiple hosts infected with the malware bots. Okay, because there are multiple bots over there, and they can in different ways all can able to attack on that single web server. So this is the difference between DOS and DDoS attacks. Now we're going to discuss types of attacks. Yeah, so today we will be covering types of attacks. Okay, so the first type of attack is teardrop attack. Okay, so this is the type of attack where you can see the attacker may send the large number of data packets, break them into multiple fragments for the targeted systems to reassemble. The attacker send the countless packet, okay, into and the data fragments to the network. When the networks try to recompile the fragment into their original packet, they are unable to do it. Okay, so I'll take the example, okay, and I'll show you. So let's say this is a packet. Okay, so you must be aware that layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. Okay, layer 4 is called segment, layer 2 is called data link layer, okay, which is called frame, correct? So we are talking about layer 3. Okay, so the maximum size of packet is 65535 bytes, okay, and the minimum size is 20 bytes. Okay, so these are the maximum size and minimum size of the packet. Okay, so let's take the example as this is the sender, okay, and this is the receiver. Okay, so when sender tries to send the packet to the receiver, and let's take an example that the size of the packet is 65535 bytes. Okay, so the sender cannot able to send to the receiver in one go about this number of bytes. So what it will do is it will just break the packets into small chunks. Okay, okay, and they started moving from the sender towards the receiver. Okay, and they also have the sequence number. Okay, so sequence number, you already aware that what sequence number helps them out, which is also called offset. Okay, so the packets, okay, they are moving from sender towards the receiver. Okay, once it reaches to the receiver reassembles it and tries to check the checksum value. Okay, if the checksum value matches, means that no one has modified the packet is completely perfect. Okay, now what attacker do is that the attacker changes the maximum size of the packet to highest size. Okay, so what happens is that when it breaks into the chunks, okay, and when it's sent to the receiver, and the receiver when reassembles it using offset, they unable to do so. Okay, why? Because the memory is overflow. Okay, so they cannot proceed the packet. Okay, it will be in hung state. Okay, so why this is? Because it breaches the actual size of the packet. Okay, so this type of attack is called ping to death. Okay, so this type of attack is called ping to death. Okay, where the attacker tries to modify the packet to the highest size and started sending it to the receiver. Once it reaches to the receiver try to reassemble it but cannot do it because the memory has overflow. Okay, now we can see how we can mitigate it. Okay, so the mitigation, the resolution which is provided is that the packet should check before it send to the receiver. Okay, so they should check the maximum size of the packet. Okay, if the maximum size breaches, then the packet cannot be forwarded to the receiver. Okay, so this is the only way to mitigate ping to death, which is the exact name of this type of DOS attack. Okay, which comes under teardrop attacks. Okay, now the second type of attack is flooding attack. So a flooding attack is a DOS attack that sends multiple connection requests to the server but does not respond to the complete handshake. Okay, now let's start with this. Okay, so the attack is flooding attack. Okay, so flooding attack is the TCP SYN flood attack. Okay, so let's start with it. Okay, so under TCP SYN flood attack, okay, let's start with TCP three-way handshake. Okay, so you must be aware that, okay, which is having SYN. Okay, so the sender first send to the receiver. Okay, first send the SYN packet. Okay, the receiver receives it and reverted SYN plus ACK, and then sender send acknowledgement. Okay, when this is done, the three-way handshake is done between the client and the server, and they started exchanging the data. Correct? Okay, so what the attacker do is here is that, let's take this as attacker and let's take it as web server. Okay, so what the attacker do is that the attacker first send a SYN packet. Okay, correct, and under SYN packet the attacker add any spoof IP address. Okay, so when the server reverted back with SYN plus ACK, okay, the IP address is the spoofed one, means the destination address which is provided by the attacker is completely different. Okay, so this particular SYN plus ACK reaches to any other location. Okay, so it is not reaching to the exact legit user. Okay, so the legit user cannot able to send the acknowledgement. Okay, acknowledgement is not possible because the IP address which is set by the attacker is a different one. Okay, due to which is called half open connection. Okay, so half open connection where the three-way handshake cannot be set up. Okay, so the packet will be dropped. Okay, so when the packet will be dropped, okay, and under all web servers there is a memory which is called buffer memory. Okay, so buffer memory is basically a memory that stored the connection, okay, that has established. Okay, whatever connections or whatever users or host that tries to make a connection with a server. Okay, so there is a memory allocated towards it. Memory is filled with half open connections. Okay, and it is completely filled. So when your legit user try to connect to the web server, the memory seems to be full and cannot able to establish the connection. Okay, so your connection will be dropped. Okay, so all those legit users who try to make a connection with the server, okay, the connection will be dropped. Okay, now we can see that how we can mitigate it. Okay, so we see mitigation. The first solution is SYN cookies. Okay, so under SYN cookie, when the client initiate the connection with the server with a SYN, okay, what server will do is that the server encrypt, okay, by adding the sequence number, okay, in the SYN plus ACK. So for example, this is the client, okay, and this is the server. Okay, so the client sends sync, okay, SYN bit, what the server do is that the server will encrypt it. Okay, and when the server reverted back with SYN plus ACK, it will also add the sequence number. Okay, and the sequence number, I'll give you the brief about it, that the sequence number contains three things. Okay, one is time span. Okay, then maximum segment size, that what size of each segment will be delivered. Okay, and third one is secret key. Okay, so I'll tell you this, that the secret key, okay, so the secret key contains server IP address, okay, then server port number, okay, then the client IP address, the client who initiate the connection, and client port number. Okay, and these all information are of 24 bits. Okay, so this is the information. The maximum segment size is 3 bits. Okay, and time span is 5 bits. The total is 32 bits. Okay, 24 plus 8 is 32. Okay, so it's all 32-bit information, okay, which is sent by the server towards the client. Okay, and when the client reverted back with acknowledgement, okay, it will send sequence number +1. Okay, so what it does is that when a final acknowledgement is received from the client, okay, what server will do is that the server removes a sequence number, okay, and it matches these three things: time span, maximum segment size, and the secret key. Okay, so once the server found out that these three are matching, okay, then the connection will be established. If they saw that this has been having modified, okay, between the client and the server, so the server will not going to establish the connection. Okay, so this is called SYN cookies. Okay, some people, you can also see that, name the sequence number as value n or x or like that. Okay, it's all up to this like way of teaching. There are also many other steps that you can mitigate it. Okay, the second one is rate limiting. Okay, so under rate limiting, the number of requests that has been sent on the server should be limited and cannot be breaches the limit. Okay, so the request which is sent to the server, okay, will be calculated, that how much number of requests can be sent, okay, in particular per second. Okay, so with the help of that we can also minimize it and we can rate the limit. Okay, then also there is an option of firewall filtering, that under firewall you can also add certain limitations. We can create the policy about SYN flooding. Okay, that if from this particular user, if you receive the number of packets, then we should add the policy that how we can create a firewall policy that what action needs to be done. Either we can drop the packet, okay, or we can generate a log, okay, so that we can take action out of it. Okay, so this is called SYN flooding. Okay, and which comes under flooding attack. Hello everyone, your warm welcome to the course of cybersecurity, DOS and DDoS attacks. So today we'll be covering the practical aspect of how we can perform the attacks. So here I took two machines, one is the target machine and one is the Kali Linux machine, from where we can flood the attacks. Okay, and this video is only for the education purpose, there is no other purpose behind it. So please take this as positively and try to learn out of it, that how the attacker, how you can how you can defend your system, your organization, your networks. Okay, so without having further delay, let's get started. So here the first step is I'm going to show you the IP address of both the systems. So this is my Kali Linux system, and I type ifconfig. Here under Ethernet 1 you can see the IP address of this machine is 192.168.10.141. Okay, let's go to my Windows machine. ipconfig, the IP address is 192.168.10.142 and 10.2 is my default gateway, and this is /24 because the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. Okay, so we got both the IP address of the target machine and the source machine. Okay, let's ping as ping 192.168.10.142. You can see that the ping has been successful. The TTL value is 128. The ICMP sequence number is showing up. This is the destination IP address. 64 byte packets are moving. Okay, Control C to stop it. Okay, now let's go to Windows machine, and we also ping 192.168.10.141. Okay, here from here also you can see the TTL value 64 because this is the Linux machine. Okay, and there here on Kali Linux you saw that it's 128 because it's Windows. So you already read about this part also, but just for the sake of knowledge I'm sharing you this as well. Okay, so this is all done. Now we are performing this attacks using NMAP. Okay, and there is also commands of hping3 command which helps us out. There are also multiple commands under that to attack, and attackers are using that. Okay, so I'll show you that. So first NMAP, and I'll show you that what all ports that are open on my target machine. So I just type the IP address, and you can see it's pretty quick, and the NMAP report shows that this is the target machine. The host is up, latency is 0.00065 seconds, and you can see these all commands that are open. Okay, these are our unknown ports command. It shows the MAC addresses as well. Okay, so this command also helps us out in getting the ports that are open. Okay, and if you have any issues with the commands, and if you are new to this, then I'll advise you this, that for example type nmap and -help. So here you can see that all the outputs, all the commands for OS data action, you can see the privileges, the packet tracing, debugging level. Okay, you can see everything, verbosity level. You'll learn everything else while you spoof MAC addresses, data length. Okay, the length of the data inside the packet. So all this is TTL value, time to live. Okay, so this is also any command you type and just type help, so it can help you out with the proper instruction that which command you can use where. Okay, so this is very useful. Okay, so now we got that what all ports that are open, right? So now let's start with a SYN flood attack. Okay, so I'm using hping3 command. Okay, then S, which is uppercase, which is SYN attack. So I'm using SYN packet. Okay, then I use my space 192.168.10.141. okay, which is my source machine of Kali Linux. Okay, then space -a, okay, for attacking 192.168.10.142, which is my target machine. Okay, then I'm using the port number, so -p135. We are performing the attack on port 135, and here you can see that we are just flooding. Okay, so here you can see that we are flooding. Okay, now we just go to Windows 7 machine, and I'll advise just stop it for now. So here you can see that 6,98,000 packets that has been transmitted. And if you want to see here on the Windows machine, so under Windows machine, just okay, so here which is Windows Task Manager, so you can see that the CPU touch and everything it is showing. Okay, and we just make like again we start flooding the packets. Okay, so here we have started flooding it. Okay, now we go to Windows machine, and you can able to see that how the CPU usage will going to increase. Okay, so you can see that CPU usage reached on 22. Okay, if you want to see here this on our Wireshark, then just open Wireshark. Here I've opened it. now the new one, and we just, so you can see that the source and the destination and the number of packets, how the packets are delivered to the Windows 7. We stop it. Okay, so here we take any random packet. Okay, so under that you can able to see that how the packet, you can see the Ethernet which is frame 2. Okay, IP address, it is showing the length and everything else, all the information. Okay, time to live value, and okay, status unverified, source address, destination address. Okay, but you can able to see the source and destination. Now if we want to use the random source, then how we can use it? Okay, so you can see source is destination 135. Okay, and destination is 10.142. Okay, so this is the information we are receiving. Okay, now for example if you want to do a random source. Okay, so for random source, and if we want to increase the number of packets, okay, so what we're going to do is we type hping3, okay, then -c, then let's say the number of packets. So C means count of packets, so let's start with 10,000 packets. Okay, so we are sending 10,000 packets, okay, to the size of bytes. So we are using -d, and how many bytes of packets we need, so let's say 10,000 bytes of packet. Okay, then we are performing SYN, so we are using capital S, then -d, okay, which is for destination port, which is 135. Okay, and we are flooding it. Okay, hyphen flood, and hyphen rand source, which is random source. Okay, and our target IP address is 192.168.10.142. Okay, so we have just initiated a flooding packet. Okay, let's start with Wireshark, and again I'll stop after a few packets, so you can see here that how many number of packets we are receiving it. Okay, so I just stopped this, and you can able to see that they are giving a random IP address on the source, and the destination remains the same. So you can see that how attacker performs the changing the source addresses, okay, as random, and it will take the random source number so that it cannot be identified by the IPS. Okay, as well. So you can see the source IP address is 75.121.220.83. Okay, then which is, let's just stop this flooding packets. Before that, I'm going to show you the Windows machine as well, so you can see the CPU usage is go 22%. Okay, so this keeps on increasing, and attacker, how they're doing it, they are performing the attacks via multiple botnets or multiple systems they have. Okay, so they are performing with help of that. So if one system can able to send, you can see here that 50 lakh packets, 8,853 packets that has been transmitted. Okay, so you can see this is how flooding. So this is under the single machine. If they have 10 machines, then you can see that how many packets they can able to transfer within multiple machine. Now let's start with for example, if you want to make a payload of data, okay, as you want to add a greater size to it, so let's say hping3, okay, 192.168.10.142, okay, and hyphen data, and let's say I'm adding six zeros, which means that 1 megabyte, okay, which is the payload data. Okay, and press enter. So you can see that the ID is using this, and which is sending towards the receiver. You can able to see the memory usage reach to 540. Okay, so under Wireshark, let's see this. Okay, so you can see that it is showing IP fragmented packets. So I have already told you during the theoretical session that, you know, if the payload size increases, then it can, using MSS, maximum segment size, it is you know, they're going to reduce the packet size. Okay, so you can see here that the packet size is 1480 bytes. So this is where you can able to see that you know, the payload size is going to increase. Okay, and how this is how attacker attacks with higher length of packets. Okay, data length. So what happened that while during it reaches to the destination, and they'll add, or they can recorrect it with a sequence number, they cannot able to forward it. Okay, so this using this the attacker helps, this command helps attacker to perform this. Okay, to flood. Okay, hello everyone. So now we will be performing ping attack. Okay, ICMP flood attack. Okay, so let's start with it. That how we can do it as hping3. Okay, then -1. Okay, for ping. Okay, then C is for number of packets. Okay, so -C. Then for example, if you want one ping only, okay, to send it to the destination, one packet 10.142. Okay, so you can see that one ping that has been sent. Okay, and one packet received, one transmitted. Okay, so this is all up to you. For example, if we need 10 packets, so you can see that you can able to send 10 packets, 10 ICMP packets to the receiver. Okay, so this is the way the pin works, but these packets are not enough, okay, to make a flood attack. Okay, so for that, hping3, then 1. Okay, then hyphen. Okay, so this command is so basically, okay, for example, if you want to send a packets in particular interval of time. Okay, so how you can perform that? Okay, so hping3, then 1 hyphen C, how many packets? 10 packets. Okay, and we need it in the interval of 10 seconds, for example 3 seconds. Okay, so we put 10 packets hyphen I for interval for 3 seconds. Okay, the destination is 192.168.10.142. okay, so you can see that the destination will receive the pin request in every 3 seconds. Okay, so this is how the attacker make attacks, okay, to the receiver or to the target system using this. And he added multiple systems so that if those type of attacks, okay, in every time span. Okay, so you can see there are 10 packets in the interval of 3 seconds to the receiver, okay, to the target machine. Okay, now how they perform the flood, okay, ICMP flood packets, we see that as they use the command as hping3. Okay, then -1 for ping, then they use hyphen fast. Okay, so this makes 10 ping in 1 second. Okay, 192.168.10.142. okay, so you can see how fast they'll make the pin request. Okay, you can able to see here that this is how your CPU usage and your memory increases. Okay, you can see there is, okay, so like you can see here. Okay, so this is how the pin attack works. Okay, for example, if the attacker wants to attack with 100 pin requests per second, so how will they do it is ping, then 1, then what he does is that he add the command hyphen faster. Okay, so you can see here 100 requests in per second, and this is how he do using multiple systems to send the request to the receiver. You can see. Okay, so you can see 5,66,240 packets has been transmitted, and you know how it, the target machine can only receive 1723, because the speed of the packets is very that many packets, there is only request sent, but the reply cannot be sent back because of the server cannot have a time to syn with the packets. Okay, because the flow of the packet, the speed of the packet becomes very fast for them. Okay, so if you want to make an attack using the random source IP, okay, so how we'll do it? Using hping3, okay, -1 - fast - random source, okay, then the destination IP address, you can see the performance of CPU usage increased to 12%, 18%. This is how the attacking works using. Okay, so let's take the Wireshark, recent use Wireshark. Let's take this Ethernet, let's write the packet. So you can see that these all are random IP addresses. Okay, you know the reply which has been sent from the destination is towards the wrong destination. Okay, so this will be the source and this will be destination, which is random IP. So this reaches to any other IP address who has registered with this, but not with 192.168.10.141. So you can just take those Wireshark snippet and you can able to verify by yourself that how you can see the request and the reply. Okay, request reply 64.128. okay, you can see the sequence number as well, the ICMP protocol, the length of the packet, source, destination, time, everything else has been given over here. Okay, so we can able to see like how it performs. Okay, so this is how the spoofing of ICMP flood happens. Okay, and how ICMP ping request or ping flooding works. Okay, using Kali Linux. Hello everyone, welcome to the course of cybersecurity, DOS and DDoS attacks. So today we'll be covering on a new topic, chemtable attack. Chemtable is content addressable memory. Which usually helps to store the port and MAC address information. Okay, so chemtable that works on layer 2 devices. So under layer 2, considered as all the switches. So this chemtable attacks comes under network attacks. Correct. Now I'll show you the practical aspect of how chemtable attack works. So let's take the example as this is a switch and we have 3 hosts that are connected. Okay, 3 hosts. I am considering this as our whole LAN, local area network. So we have LAN where we have 100 plus PCs which are connected to the routers connected to the firewall, and we have internet. Correct. So if you are not coming from the networking background, then this is the topology which everyone can have it. Basic topology that how a single LAN should connect it to the internet. So this is my firewall and this is the switch. So how chemtable works is that if you have number of hosts, so it makes a table, port and their MAC addresses. So all the devices has their MAC addresses. Let's say this is MAC address X, this is MAC address Y, and this is MAC address Z. So MAC address is basically an address which has been stored in let's say which stores the value or the name, we can say, of the device. Correct. So this is connected. So your switch has maybe 24 port or 48 port PoE switch, power over Ethernet. It depends. Now you have 24 ports. Let's take the example. So there are 24 ports over here and these 3 devices which connect. So I said the port 1 is connected with X, port 2 is connected with Y, and port 3 is connected with Z. Okay, so this is how they labeled it. Okay, and whatever if for example if X want to communicate with Y, so they'll check inside the chem table that how they can able to connect it, okay, via ports. Correct. And for example let's say let's say there is a device A, there's a device A which is a new device, correct, who added in the switch. So how the switch makes an entry? So let's say switch A, device A who has MAC address A, okay, is connected on port number 4. So first, before it added into the switch, it broadcasts the entry. So when a new device enters, it will broadcast the entry, okay, and with the help of broadcast message it will add it in the chem table. Okay, so this is the basic working of switch. And if those two devices, let's say if X and Y wants to connect with each other, the message is unicast, means one to one, and broadcast means one to many. This is one, this is one to one. Okay, so this is the way now let's take the example of how chem table attack works. So basically chem table has size, that how many entries they can make. Let's say if you have your switch 3650 Cisco switch which has 8000 entries. Okay, so we can make 8000 entries in the Cisco switch. What attacker do is now that the attacker floods. Let's take this example again. This is your switch, this is connected with multiple hosts in your network. Now the attacker do is that the attacker floods the frame with different MAC addresses. Let's say this is the attacker. Now what the attacker do is, this is your chem table that has port and that is MAC address, it connected with Z, okay, and port 3. So what it will do is that on port 3 it will add Z in the, again after some time he made a request, he changed the MAC address to B, correct, which is also on port 3, then C, then D, then E, then F, all will be on port 3. Okay, so this is the way attacker do, correct. So when for example when Y wants to connect to the Z, okay, and when the switch used to check the chem table, the switch cannot able to find the entry for Y. So if it does not see the entry of Y, what it will do is that it will again broadcast the frame, because the entry is not in the chem table, because the switch or the attacker made a multiple bogus entries inside the switch. Because of that, what's legit entries will be miss. Okay, and it's not over here in the chem table. So this is the way like the chem table attack works. Now what's the solution? So the solution of chem table is that you have to use a command where MAC address sticky, which keeps the MAC address as static. So the entry inside your switch with the MAC address will be static. The second option is you can set the limit. So the limit must be set. Limit must be set as how many, for example, let's say 3. So maximum 3 MAC address can be added with a single port, so that the attacker cannot able to make the entry more than that. Okay. Another good part is that which considered as a layer 2 security, layer 2 port security. Under that you have 3 options. One is restrict, protect. Now what restrict do is, when the attacker try to make an entry, what it will do is it will drop the packet. So if they found that the number of entries with multiple MAC addresses on a single port, it will drop. What protect will do is it will drop the packet, but it also add the logs. So it generates the log, and for the future, if any wants to check it that what attacker did, so the protect comes into picture. And the shutdown, what it will do is, for example, if a Z is an attacker which tries to attack on this port, it will shut down the port. So the port will be shut down and went into error disabled state. And if you want to use that port again, then the administrator needs to again no shut the port and they can use it again, but till the time it will be in error disabled. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hello everyone, welcome to the course of cybersecurity DOS and DDoS attacks. So today we will be covering DHCP attacks. DHCP is dynamic host configuration protocol, which is basically called a layer 2 protocol. This also comes under network attacks. And which is restricted within a LAN. Means a DHCP works within a LAN, means there's a local area network, it works within that. Now, what is DHCP protocol? DHCP works on DORA process. DORA means that discover, offer, request and accept. Okay, so let's take the example as this is our switch which is connected to router, the router is connected to the firewall, and the firewall is connected to the ISP from where you get the internet, correct? This is the host in your LAN. Okay, so let's say if a new device enters to your network, correct? Now what it will do is that it first sent a discover message. So the discover message, this is your client, a new client, okay, and this is your DHCP server. So DHCP server will be inside your network, correct? So it first sent discover. The discover must be a broadcast message which went to all over the host in your network, because this client is asking to get the IP address. Okay, now once it is broadcast, it reaches, the frame reaches to all the host. Then when it reaches to server, the server found out that it is for him only, then the server reverted back. So the server reverted back in unicast message which only reaches to the client. Okay, then this is offer. Okay, then it is again the client sent the request. The request must be broadcast to the server, and the server sent unicast as acknowledgement. Okay, so this is how a DHCP DORA process works. This is the basic, correct? Now when a client sends a broadcast message to request the IP address, what all information is there? So when this discover process works, the client sent their own MAC address. Okay, because the MAC address must be unique in all the devices in your LAN network. Makes sense. And it also added so first the client sent the under discover message the MAC address, correct, of the devices, and when the server offers the IP address, that this is all the list of IP address he has, and with that he offers the subnet mask, because to must know that what all subnet mask the network is using, and DNS server address. So you must be aware about domain name service, where if you want to reach to the internet, so from your IP address to convert it to the human readable address, the DNS server can only do it. And also the default gateway, that what is a default gateway to reach to the internet. So under offer, these all information sent by the server to the client to store it. Then the client request for that particular IP address, and the server send the acknowledgement message telling them that this is the IP address and this will be your IP address. So whenever a client send the request towards the internet, it went with the IP address which is provided by the server, correct? Now let's take the example of how DHCP starvation attack, which is also part of DHCP. Under DHCP starvation message, what it, so I'll make again this, that this is switch, this is multiple host in your network. Let's take the router, let's take the firewall, and which is connected to your ISP, your internet. Okay, now this one is attacker. What attacker do is that the attacker send multiple requests. It send the multiple requests to the server by changing its MAC address.
So by changing the MAC address, and when it reaches to the server provide them the IP address. And because of that, if for example, if the limit of your subnet is /26, so you have 64 IP address. Okay. And with the help of that, all those IP address will be in use, will be leased, okay, to the attacker IP address. Now, if there is any legit user who requested for the IP address, the server has no available statistics to provide the IP address to the legit user. This is called DHCP starvation attack. Under DHCP snooping, what happened is that, for example, this is your switch, you have multiple hosts there, there is also a server which is your actual DHCP server, and there is also attacker who made rogue DHCP server. Now if a new user X comes into picture, when X requested using its MAC addresses, okay, the IP address, when it started broadcasting, it reaches to both the servers, okay, the rogue server as well as the DHCP server. When both of them offers, it works as in who sent the request first. So the request of that rogue DHCP server reaches first, then the actual DHCP server. Now what will happen is that the host who has the MAC address X accept the IP address of rogue DHCP server and started working on it. So when this host X used to send the request towards the internet, towards the ISP, it first reaches to the rogue DHCP server, because now this term is called DHCP spoofing. Why this is called DHCP spoofing attack? Because the rogue DHCP server, what it will do is it will set his own rogue IP address as default gateway. So whatever request sent towards the internet, it will first go to the rogue DHCP server, and the DHCP server might be sent the request towards the hacked websites where all those credentials of the user may be compromised. And sometimes there is a high possibility that it will be attacked as ransomware attack towards the whole LAN network, and all their data will be encrypted, and then the attacker will ask to pay filthy to get those data back. So which is also called man in the middle attack, because the rogue DHCP server will work as man in the middle attack. So whatever request came from the host will first reaches to the rogue DHCP server rather than the actual DHCP server, because the IP has been assigned by the rogue DHCP server, and this is the way DHCP spoofing comes into picture and called man in the middle attack. Okay, so this is all about DHCP attacks, and thanks for watching, guys.
Hello everyone. So today we will be starting a new topic, ransomware as a service, as this whole tutorial is about cybersecurity, DOS and DDoS attacks. And now we take this new topic as ransomware as a service. Okay, So what comes under ransomware as a service? So let me show you the document that I have created. Okay, so what is ransomware as a service? So basically this is a business model that involves selling and renting of ransomware to the buyers, and ransomware as a service is a primary reason of rapid spreading of ransomware attacks because the threat actors do not have the high amount of technical knowledge. Okay, let me tell you this, that this is the business model. Okay, why this is considered as a business model? Because if you did about cloud computing or any of the programming languages, we must understand about platform as a service, okay, software as a service. Okay, so what are the platform? The platform on which you run your software. Okay, so under cloud computing, that is all about the AWS, Azure and all. Okay, we discussed it already. Now we heard this term as a ransomware service. So this is also a software based that particularly helps attacker in producing or attacking victims. So they created a platform. There are many companies that are considered as a ransomware as a service because they did buying and selling of malware. Firstly, what they do is they hire developer, then operators, administrators, and lastly affiliates. These all details I've mentioned it in the documents as well, and I'll be sharing you these details as well. Okay, so you can just go through the document, you can get the more knowledge about it. And what the developer do is the developer will create a malware. So the operator hires the affiliates. Now what are affiliates? Basically a ransomware service is a software where there are number of malwares that has been given over there. The operator hires affiliates, as I already mentioned. So affiliates are workers that take certain malware and they started attacking the victims, and a victim environment will be compromised. So this all thing is done by affiliates. Now what affiliates do is once the system has been compromised, then they try to contact victims, ask them to pay certain amount so that all those files that has been encrypted by the malware will be decrypted. Correct? This is the basic process of it. So this is the way this ransomware as service works. Now there are certain options which has been provided by the operator to the affiliates. What are they? Is that they ask affiliates to take certain options in terms of selecting a particular or selecting list of malwares. Okay, and then start attacking them. Attacking the victims. There's also one uh, there's also one portal that has been provided to the affiliates where the affiliates will, so basically this will be the dashboard that will be showed to the victims about the status of their environment, that what are the things that has been compromised, and if they need again those to be decrypted can only be possible, sorry, okay, can only be decrypted by paying certain amount. So this is the way it works, and the negotiations will be done on the portals as well. Now our next point is how we can mitigate those ransomware as a service, or I can say malware attacks. So I have mentioned this as well in the documents. So this is all the working part where you can see the developer creates a specific ransomware code. A code is sold to the affiliates. Affiliates spread the malware and pay with the cryptocurrency. Money is divided between the developers and associates, correct? Create their own payment portals. This has been created by the affiliates, okay, and with the victim negotiations, correct? The most sophisticated ransomware as a service operator offers the portal to let the subscriber see the status of infections, total payments, total file encrypted, and other information about the target, correct? Now the prevention. The first thing is implement a reliable modern endpoint protection. So endpoint protection will be antivirus softwares, which is must be activated and monitored as well, so that if the attacker try to compromise a single machine, could be easily identified, okay? Perform regular and frequent backups. Let's say you have servers, you have firewalls, you have network devices. All those backups will be taken regularly, so that if any immediate help which is needed, you must have the backup with you. Okay, this is the first point. This is the second point. The third thing is test backup regularly. Sometimes what people do is they just take the backups and they think that the backup will be work once they able to implement it. If their systems are compromised and later they found out that those backups are not taken properly, so that all those files cannot able to work, and there's no sense of having the backup. So if you take backups regularly, at least after a few months, just check your backups, because to be at the safer side, right? Maintain the rigorous patch programs, okay, to check an unknown vulnerabilities. Some if for example they have Windows machines in their environment that are not updated, so they are not updating their Windows systems, and due to that there will be vulnerabilities. So the vulnerabilities help attackers to attack or compromise systems, correct? Could be easier for them because there are high chances for the attacker or the systems to be compromised if it is not updated or not patched on time, okay? So this all measures you need to take, and there should be regular follow-up on this, because you never know when you get be targeted. Invest your time using training and building the security profiles. So all your employees must be trained in terms of, if for example I'll take email attacks. So if there will be any email attack, that's the example, there are many attacks as well, so they can able to understand if there will be any links or any URLs that has been shared with them, so they can able to take proper steps by not clicking on it, or to contact the IT team of your organization, so that the correct action will be taken on that. Limit your user privileges, makes sense. So use user privileges, for example you have admins, super admins, managerial departments. So the privileges from networks I'm talking, which we are giving 15, which they have all privileges, so admin must be given 12 privileges. Managerial department should have 5. It's all up to the privilege level according to their designations, correct? Now review your port settings, correct? So port settings, as we already follow this NMAP lab, correct, where you saw that how we can see open ports. Keep your system updated, okay, up to date. So these are all the preventive measures. Thanks for watching, guys.
Hello everyone. So today we're going to see that how we can perform R spoofing. As we discussed already the theoretical part of R spoofing, now we are heading towards how to spoof a Windows 7 machine. So here on your screen you can able to see that I took Kali Linux machine. With the help of that I can perform one scripting, and I used to spoof the Windows 7 machine. So first of all we go to our Windows 7 machine and we type cmd ipconfig. So here you can see that the IP address of my Windows 7 machine is IPv4 address 192.168.10.130 and 10.2 is the default gateway. Okay, so this is all the information. Now we want to check the MAC address, so we go to R-A, right? Okay, so for R we used to type R-A, and here you can able to see there are multiple IPs that are connected in our subnet. So the 10.2 is the default gateway, and the MAC address is 2D64 and the 10.6. So these are all the MAC addresses, which is also called physical address, and there are types which is dynamic and static, and this is the IP address, right? So now we go to Kali Linux machine. Okay, so now we are on our Kali Linux machine and we used to check the IP address. So we type ifconfig and here you can see that under Ethernet 1 the IP address is 192.168.10.141. Okay, and this is the IP MAC address of our Kali Linux machine. Okay, now while spoofing, as we discussed, what I'm going to do is that this will be our default gateway. Okay, so from the client who reaches towards the internet will first go to the default gateway. So the default gateway in Windows is this one. The actual default gateway is 2D64, right? But we want our traffic to pass through 5FCB, which is our Ethernet 1 MAC address. Okay, so let's go further. So the command for R spoofing is rspoof then -I for the interface. So for interface we are on interface Ethernet 1, right? And this is -T is the IP address of the target. So our target is 192.168.10.130 and our default gateway is 10.2 as we see in our Windows 7 machine, right? So while we scroll up, I already showed you this is the default gateway, and press enter. So here you can able to see now that we started sending the flood packets to our Windows 7 machine. Now let's go to Windows 7 machine and type R-A. So now you can able to see here that the IP address 192.168.10.141, which is our Kali Linux machine, has the same MAC address as 5FCB, and the 10.2 also has the same MAC address. So now while reaching to the internet, it first go to the our Kali Linux machine because it is considered as a default gateway, and then so this is the way we can spoof, and which is also called man in the middle attack.
Hello everyone. So as per our last video, we have successfully installed Kali Linux and VMware Workstation. Now we are proceed further and we're going to see that how we install NMAP in Kali Linux. So to install, type the command, open the root terminal, type sudo. To go to the root terminal, just click here and select the terminal emulator. Okay, so here there is a root as well, so you can just type it there, sudo apt-get install nmap. Press enter. So you can see that it is taking all the packages list and all. Now press yes, and you can able to see that now it started installing Kali Linux nmap in Kali Linux. Okay, so this will take some time. It will add all the packages. Now it is downloading. So let's wait for a while. So it's still processing. Okay, so the installation is successfully done. Now we're going to proceed further with the commands. Hello everyone. So your warm welcome to the course of cybersecurity DOS and DDoS attacks. So today we're going to see that what NMAP is. So NMAP is basically called network mapper, which is an open source tool, which is open source, which is completely available for free. Okay, which is used to check the your network vulnerability or your environment vulnerability. So if for example, if you want to become an ethical hacker, so how you want to check the network vulnerability. So network mapper is one of the tool to check the networks, their endpoints, their servers. Okay, so this is the tool which we can use to check that what all vulnerabilities we can find in the environment, and then we take actions on it, so that if tomorrow if attacker wants to attack that environment, we can secure it. Okay, network discovery. For example, if you want to see that we have example 300 devices total in our organization, if we want to check that if there is any attacker or hacker who took the access of our environment, so we can also able to see that as well from the device called NMAP. Then host discovery, if you want to discover any of the host in our environment, we can also able to do it. Okay, network discovery also I want to add here that if for example any of the outside IP or outside like I already told attacker, okay, who is sitting inside our environment, so we can check that as well. Security auditing, basically when the security auditors, when they used to check the environment security, or you can say threat defense, so they used to check. While audit, they use the device called NMAP, and then they make a report by checking everything, and then they used to tell that what all improvement that needs to be done to make an organization or a company more secure. Okay, ethical hacking, you know already that if you want to become, or if you want to grow your career in cybersecurity, so ethical hacking is the one that you want to study further, correct? So if you are a ethical hacker, and you want to check, or you want, or you are the one who is about to check the network vulnerabilities in organization, right? So you will also going to use this tool, correct? So now I'll take further, and I'll tell you what all things that you can like what all process or what all scannings that you can able to do that. Okay, so network scanning, we already discussed that, but I'm discussing it further, that what is network scanning. Network scanning is basically that we want to scan the ports. Okay, we want to scan the IP address. So these all comes under the network scanning. We can say packets, if you want to scan it, right? Or if you want to check what is sent in that packet particularly, so this all comes under network scanning. If you want to check, for example, if you want to check the OS detection or version, you can also check using network mapper. So these all functionalities you can able to do it using the tool called NMAP, which is completely free. And I'll also going to show you how you can install NMAP tool in your Kali Linux. And also if you want, I'll also going to upload a video where I'll show you that how we can install Kali Linux in your VMware workstation. Okay, so if you want to grow your career in cybersecurity, you can able, because these are the, you know, the frontier part to enter into an ethical hacker field, right? Okay, so you can also do that. For example, if you want to do any scripting part, let's say if you want to have uh, let's say if you want to attack any of the system, for example, to check the system, you can say its memory or its overall usage, okay, that how efficient your system is, or if you literally want to attack any of the environment, so using scripting you can do that as well. So which is also possible in NMAP. We already discussed about the vulnerability detection, right, that we can detect about what all vulnerabilities we have in the environment, right. So we can, out of that we can able to find that what are the risks for our organization and where we can improve. Okay, so let's say if we can see the endpoints, right, first, because the endpoints are the one who are reaching towards the internet. And for example, if any of your endpoint or any of your user like they are into some unethical websites, okay, where there is a high chances that we can get, or we got attacked from any of the hacker, right. So we can able to get, or we can able to find those vulnerabilities as well. Okay, then for example, if we want to see that about our firewall, that our firewall is detecting DOS and DDoS policy or DDoS protection, as we already discussed before, that what all type of attacks, as in TCP SYN flood attacks, ICMP attacks, ping to that death attacks, then DHCP attacks. So you can able to identify that as well, that a firewall can able to detect that easily, or how your firewall is working. So with the help of NMAP you can able to configure, or you can able to identify all those issues and you can work upon it. Okay, now we going to discuss about prerequisite, right, that what all prerequisites that are required. The first one is that you should have at least CCNA knowledge, not CCNA, at least you should have a network basic IT knowledge, which includes at least you know about Wireshark. Wireshark is also very simple tool, okay, which you can able to see, or which you can learn about packets, that the life cycle of packets, what all values, or what all values that are added to a packet, okay, how the packet is sent, the payload, the data, the security part, okay, all the flags. So the these all are the basic information that you should need to know, like before you start NMAP. These should be the prerequisite that should at least know about it. You should know about OS, let's say, because here the 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 NMAP works on Kali Linux, right. So you should have the knowledge of basic Linux commands, that you can able to enter to the directories, and you can able to have the basic commands for troubleshooting as well in Kali Linux. Okay, so this is it, and these all information that you are required to start your career in cybersecurity. So without having further delay, let's get started. So for now I'm going to show you that how you can install first Kali Linux in your VMware workstation, then we'll see that how we can install NMAP, correct, and we can able to see then how we can able to perform, or basic commands, where we can able to see the OS detection, how the commands work in NMAP. We can take all these further. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to see that how we can install Kali Linux in VMware workstation. So as you can see on my screen that I have opened my VMware workstation, and we'll further proceed on how we can install the ISO image of Kali Linux in VMware workstation. So before you start, just go to Google Chrome and type kali.org. Okay, so here you will see that this will be the dashboard, and you go to downloads. So here you see that there are virtual machines and installer images. Click on installer images. Okay, here you can see that your Windows is 64-bit or 32-bit. Currently my system is 64-bit, so I select 64-bit, and here when you go down you can see here this is the installer image of Kali Linux 64-bit. Just click on downloads and proceed towards the download. Once your image will be downloaded, open your VMware workstation. Here go to file, go to new virtual machine. As you can see on my screen that I have already installed Kali Linux in my VMware workstation, but just to show you the brief about how Kali Linux work or how Kali Linux installed in EVNG. So click on file and new virtual machine, select as typical recommended, click on next. Here you can see that installer disk image, click on browse. So here you can see that this is my installer image, Kali Linux 2023.2a installer. I select that. You can see here this is disk image and CD-ROM ISO.ISO, right? Click on open, click on next, select Linux. Here select other Linux 5x kernel 64-bit, click on next. Here what name you want to give, I give it as Kali Linux. Okay, click on next. Here it is asking for the disk size. I'll make it as 80 GB and split the virtual machine into multiple files. So if in case if you want to move your VM to some other machine, we can able to do it using this option. So select the second one, click on next. Here select customize hardware or else click on finish. Okay, once you finish, you can see here that your Kali Linux has been created. Now just select this, right click, click on settings, and now you can select the memory. So your memory, I'm selecting it as 6 GBs. Okay, I have 16 GB RAM installed, so I am selecting 6 GB of RAM. Okay, then click on processor. I select the processor as 4. Okay, then the hard disk is 80 GB that we have selected before. Now you can see the network adapter is NAT. If you want that your internet you get internet in your Kali Linux via your bridge network, so you can select that as well, but currently we are selecting NAT. If you want to add another network adapter, so you can also do it as finish. So the network adapter second should be the bridge one, so you can also do that as well. That one should be connected as a NAT and second should be the automatic. Okay, rest everything is all fine. Processor is 4 GB, memory is 6.1 GB, processor is 4, hard disk is 80 GB, network adapter I have made 2 adapters. Okay, so this is all the basic installation of Kali Linux in VMware Workstation. Now click on power on your virtual machine. This will take some time, so I'm pausing the video. So we select graphic installer, press enter. Select English, continue, continue, American English, continue. So now let's wait for a while. Now it is scanning. It is detecting network hardware. Okay, so now we have Ethernet 0, Ethernet 1. We are selecting Ethernet 1. Press continue. It is having IPv6 auto configuration as well. This is DHCP. So it is asking for the host name. Let's keep Kali as host name, no problem. Press continue. Domain we can keep it blank as well. Press continue. Now it is configuring for the username. Let's type cyber guy. Continue, continue. Password should be according to you, which should be secure as well. you should select the clock time as well according to your region and press continue. Now it is detecting the disk. Okay, so there are multiple options. We are selecting as guided use entire disk. Press continue. It is asking for disk partition. We just select this, continue. Now there's an option, we are selecting all files in one partition, recommended for the new users. Press continue. Now keep everything normal, press continue. Now it is asking all this information, the partition that we created. We create yes, press continue. It will take some time. I am pausing the video. This is just the default one I have selected. You can press continue. Now this image comes up. This is installing the software. I am pausing this for a while till the time it will complete. The installation is still going on. Okay, let's hold for a while. So you can see that the software installation has been done. Now installing the grub bootloader. Press continue. Select this. Press continue. So now this is the final step for the installation. Let's hold on for a while. So all installation has been done. Now this is asking to continue for the reboot. Press continue. And the system is rebooting now. So you can see here that the screen comes up with Kali Linux. This will take some time. Okay, so now it is your Kali Linux screen comes up. What was the user we used as username, the password, press login. So you can able to see the dashboard, like your Kali Linux console. How does it look? So here you can, when you click here, it is showing all of your applications. This is all about the installation of Kali Linux. And okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Dynamic Coder. So today we start a video on how we can install Kali Linux on EVENG. So as you can see here on my screen that I have logged in to the EVENG. So this is my EVENG. Okay, and I'm using HTTP 192.168.10.139. So I'm on the browser, I'm using 10.139, right? Now we are installing Kali Linux in EVENG. Okay, so for that, first we go to kali.org. okay, then go to downloads. Under downloads, you have two options. This is installer image if you want your Kali Linux to be installed in your VMware workstation, so you are recommended to use this image. Otherwise, if you are installing for your EVENG, then go to virtual machines. Just click on virtual machines and you find this multiple options under 32-bit and 64-bit. Here for that we need Chemo image. Okay, so we just need to download this. So you are allowed to download this. When you click on this, it will download. It will be in WinRAR file. You just extract that. Okay, and further step I'll show you. Okay, the next step is what you do is you have to go to WinSCP. Okay, so WinSCP is here. I have logged into 10.139 as a root account. Okay, then here I told you before in my previous videos, while installing any devices in EVNG, that this is the side where all your files are stored in your computer, and this is for the VM images. Okay, so the next step is, what you do is you have to select where your QCOW image is downloaded. Mine, I have downloaded and stored it in D drive, so I just go to D drive. Okay, and under D drive, yeah, so here this is Kali Linux 2023.3 Chemo image. Double click, and this is the QCOW one. Now this side, the right hand side, is of your VM side, your EVNG side. Okay, so now here's when you logged in, you are into the root. Okay, so for root you first have to select OPT, then Unit Lab, then add-ons, then Chemo. Okay, so you are in this folder where you have multiple images that what you have uploaded in your EVNG. Okay, now you have to create one new folder, new directory. Okay, so to create a directory, just right click and new directory. Okay, now I'll name it as Linux Kali. Okay, and set the permissions as all to be 4 times 7. Okay, read, write and execute. Okay, and press OK. So this is your, just wait, this is your Kali Linux folder. Okay, so Linux L should be small case, and it's like hyphen and Kali. Okay, and what you do is you copy this QCOW image, you just drag and drop it here. Okay, so this will take some time. Your image will be copied from your left hand side to the right hand side. Okay, so let's wait for a while. I'm pausing this video. Okay, so this is 73% now. Okay, let's hold for a while. Okay, so as we can see that our QCOW image has been transferred from the PC to the EVNG directory. Okay, now the next step is just right click and rename. Okay, just remove this, and the spell should be Virtua, VIRTIOA, okay, .QCOW2. So this must be the name, and it should be same, because as per documentation of EVNG, the image of Kali Linux should be named as VIRTIOA.QCOW2. Okay, and just right click, go to properties, and here you can able to see that this is the permissions. Please allow all the permissions. The total should be 7777. Okay, as you can see here, click on OK. You can see here read, write. Okay, so all those permissions should be given. Okay, now the next step is we should minimize this, and you can see this is the lab which is already there. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just close this lab and I'll create a new lab. Okay, press OK. Just right click, press on node, select Linux, press OK. Okay, so number of nodes, we are adding one node to CPU. The RAM should be 4 GBs of RAM. Okay, all this setting keep it as default. Place save, and we need to connect it to the internet. Go to network, bridge network, that we need to connect it to the internet from our PC network. Press OK. Just to Ethernet 0. Now right click and start. Please wait for a while till the time it is converted to blue color. Okay, so you can see here that my Linux has been converted. Now double click, so this image will comes up where it is loading a Kali Linux. Let it load. If this does not comes up, means that there is a difference, that you haven't either you had a mistake in the permission level or else in the naming convention. So you must take care of this before adding this image to your EVNG. Okay, now it's asking for the root password. Username is Kali and the password is Kali. Okay, so you can able to see that the username and the password both should be Kali, and you can able to logged in. Okay, so you can see here this is your default dashboard for your Kali Linux. You can see under applications, so these are all applications, most recent use, all the applications you can see. Then here is your browser, here is your root terminal, Just click here, you have PowerShell as well as root terminal emulator. So this is all enable to working. Now it's asking for the password. Password should be Kali, correct? So you can see here that this is all working. Where's root, correct? So this is how the installation of Kali Linux in EVNG works. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. We start with the basic commands of NMAP. The first command will be NMAP. So before that, I'll just going to show you that when you logged into the Kali Linux, as you can see here on my screen, I go to the terminal. I select root terminal. So it's all up to you that what terminal you are selecting. The first command will be nmap -help. So this is the most basic command. I'll show you what all information you are going to see inside it. So you can see here this is showing nmap version 7.94, and this is the website of nmap, that nmap.org. okay, then the target specification, it helps us out with host name, IP address and the network information. So if we type input file name, we have to input the file name inside that. Num host exclude, you can see for host discovery, if you want to discover the host in your network, then this all commands. List scan, ping scan, treat all the host as online. Okay, so this command -pn. So you can see there are multiple for DNS server, trace route, then scan techniques. Here you can see the multiple options they showed us out. nmap -help. What we do is ifconfig to check my IP address. So here you can see under Ethernet 1 192.168.10.141 is my IP, right? What I do is nmap 192.168.10.141. okay, so this gives all the information about this particular host. So it gives me the version, then nmap scan report, the host is showing up. Okay, means that this host is up. Then all the ports are in ignore state, and all the 1000 ports are TCP port, which is they're not giving the information. But nmap done, one IP address, one host up, and it gives me the time. It gave me the result. So this is most basic, so you can do it for every IP address in your network. Okay, nmap, I'll show you the next command as nmap the IP address and -A. So aggressive scan is basically used in terms of scanning a comprehensive scan or a target network. For example, if we want a version, we need the OS information, we need the network information, we need the port information. At that time we use aggressive scan. So this is A indicates aggressive scan, and we took this our same IP address, okay, of this Kali Linux machine. Here you can see it gives me a network distance 0 hop, so it's no 0 hop away because we are checking in our network only. The latency showing host is up, then it cannot give me the information about the ports which are open. Okay, no problem, we check some other commands and we get the information back with us. If we do nmap scanme.nmap.org A, so A means aggressive scan. So we found the result. You can see here starting nmap 7.9 the version, host is up, showing the latency. Okay, then you can see port, state, services. So port 22, which is of SSH, the state is showing open, means that for this scanme.nmap, where there is the port 22 is open and the service TCP rept is also open. Again this is showing SSH keys, so you can see the key 256.204.8.10.24. it's showing RSA and DSA and all those keys. Then you can see port number 80, which is TCP, so HTTP is using port 80, right? So this is the header, HTTP server header, HTTP title. This is the Apache, is the server. Okay, then nmap project, which is also on HTTP port 80. Then it is showing 2710 TCP port SSO service, which is also open. Then it is showing this multiple ports which are open in scanme.nmap.org, right? Now it is showing device type WAP general purpose running. You can see there are multiple operating system. So Action Tech embedded 96%. So it found out that this particular OS is also there. Then Linux 2.4.x hyphen 3.x. Then Windows is also there. You can see Linux kernel and Microsoft Windows XP or Action Tech. This is also operating system. Then server, Linux server is there, Linux server is there, Microsoft XP. Network distance 2 hops. So this destination is 2 hops away from us. And under trace route also it gives us the information of the RTT time, reliable transmission time, and the address. So this is my default gateway 192.168.10.2, right? And that 10.2 is taking me towards the scanme whose public IP address is 45.33.32.156. So just in a single command we get all this information. It gives us the time as 95 seconds it took to give us all this information. Now we're going to see that how we can scan our ports, open ports quickly. So there's a command for that as NMAP scanme.nmap.org, which is a domain which is provided by NMAP for the education purpose, and we use hyphen T4. So T indicates that it will take the argument much faster. So there's T0 to T5. 0 indicates very slow and 5 indicates the fastest one. So we are currently using T4 and we are scanning all the ports in scanme.nmap.org. Press enter. So we can able to see here that it is providing the NMAP version 7.9.4. Then the date. Okay, then nmap scan.scanme, it is giving the public IP address of nmap. The host is showing up, that this particular host is showing up. Now we can see that it is giving the address, IPv6 address, and you can able to see here the port, state, and the service. So port 22, which is a SSH, which is open, port 80, which is open, then nping.echo and elite. So these all 4 services which are open at nmap. Okay, and we can get this information. Now we can see that the IP address and scanning time. So this particular, in this period of time, we can get this scan and we get the information. Okay, now clear screen. For example, if you want to see that how to check all the open commands, so scanme nmap.org, and we want to see all the open ports, so we use hyphen open. So this will going to show us all the open ports in scanmap.nmap.org. Okay, so look, they gave us the result as this is the latency time for the host, and which gave us there are 976 ports which didn't respond, then 22 closed ports. Okay, then you can see here that these 2 ports are showing as open. Okay, they are in open state. So you can also check using this command as well. Then if for example if we want to check a number of ports, as in let's say we want to check the ports 1 to 100, so what we do is hyphen p then 1 hyphen 100. So from 1 to 100 it will going to scan the ports. So look here, they can able to give us the information about port 16, which is unknown, but there's a closed state. 21 FTP, which is closed. 22 is open. The rest 23 talent is also closed. SMTP is closed. 25 and 32 53 DNS, which is also closed. Port 80, which is showing open. Then you can see here that out of 100 it gives us the information like this. So for example, if you want to scan a port in ranges as well, you can able to do that as well. Okay, for example, if you want to only check for the OS, nmap scanme.org -o, capital O, okay, uppercase, press enter. Here we can able to see all these information. The host is showing up, then it is showing all the open ports. Okay, then the device type as WAP, then it is running Action Tech embedded OS, then Linux is also there, then Microsoft Windows, then OSCPE as it is showing the Linux kernel, then aggressive OS guesses. So we can also we saw before about aggressive scanning as well, where they gave us the version, they gave us the port, they gave us host discovery, everything. So it gives us the information about the Linux version 2.4.37, then 3.2. So these are all Linux flavors which has been there. Then Microsoft Windows is also showing Windows 7 or Windows 7 Server 2012. So no exact OS matches for the host. So it's showing that these number of OSs that are identified on the scanme.nmap.org. So now if we want to save any of our output in the text file, so how we can do that? For that, for example, if you want to scan a ports, okay, from port 1 to 100, we want to save it into the text file, so we can name it as ports.txt. Okay, so those all the ports which has been scanned from 1 to 100 will be stored in ports.txt. So for that, just go to home, and you can see here that from 1 to 100 the ports 22, which is SSH, and port 80, which has been saved there. So any ports, if you want to save it in the text file, you can do that as well. So this is also one of the options. So if you want to scan particular IP addresses, how we can do that? The command is nmap. Let's say we want to scan our network as 192.168.10.0, okay, or we can say 10.10 till 10.141, which is the IP address of this Linux machine, right? And if we want to exclude 192.168.10.10, so this command shows us that it will be scan all the host from 10 to 141, okay, and it will exclude this particular IP address. So now it will going to show us that 131 IP addresses scanned in just 6 seconds, okay, and the scan reports came for this 10.141, which is the same machine on which we are using. Let's say if you want to see the traceroute command about how the routing reaches towards the internet, so the command is sudo nmap scanme.nmap.org, okay, because we are using the same. And let's say the command is traceroute, so it will be tracing the routes, that how the routes are reaching. So we see the output as in it provides the information about the ports as well, that all the open ports. So 9929 is showing open, then 31337, which is TCP as well, which is also open, then SSH, port 80, port 22, okay, these all are the open ports. You can see the trace route as well, that hope 1 and hope 2. So hope 1 is it reaches to 10.2, which is the default gateway. So from 10.2 it reaches towards the public address of nmap, okay. So now what we are doing is we are adding one of our Windows system in the VMware workstation also, and we also have a Kali Linux itself. Now we're going to see that how we can able to see what all ports and what all information that we can grab from our Windows 7 machine. So first command is, if for example if you want to see that what all UDP ports which are up and on this particular host, so for that first we want to go to Windows 7 machine, and we have to see the IP address. So the IP address showing over here is, you can see that you go to CMD and you type ipconfig. I already did, okay. So you can see that the command is 192.168.10.142, default gateway is 10.2 as you already aware, okay. Now what we do is we go to sudo nmap, then we type the command as 192.168.10.142, then this is -s and u is UDP, okay, and we also want the reason behind it, okay, about each of the ports information, okay. So let's wait for a while. So we can able to see here that nmap scan 192.168.10.142, which is the Windows 7 host. We can see that the host is up and running. It's showing the latency time as well. You can see all those ports, 137, 138, 500, 4008, and this is all considered as a filtered ports, okay. Then you can see the services as well, that what are services that are open. ISA camp, okay, which is used for IPsec VPN, right? So also that particular port is also open. and IK is internet key exchange, which is used for that VPN as well. So you can see here that I already worked on this particular Windows machine, so those services I have used, that's why it is showing that. Because you must aware, if you did the firewall, that NAT tree traversal, the port is 4500, and which is UDP port, right? And for ISACAM the port is 500, which you can see here the services as well. So we get all this information. We can also see the MAC address of our VM machine, and it's showing that one IP address, the host is showing up, and it takes 41 seconds to get all this information. Let's say if you want to check how many hosts in our network is up and running, for that the command is nmap -s p capital. We will write our network as 10.0/24 and press enter. So you can able to see that how many hosts in your network is up and running. So we can able to see that 10.1 the host is showing up and showing the MAC address, 10.2 which is our default gateway, which is also showing up, then 10.142 our Windows machine, okay, and the MAC address also written over there, 10.254 the MAC address is also there in the VMware, and 10.141 which is our Kali Linux machine. So you can able to see that out of all these a network of 254 hosts, we can able to see that 5 networks or 5 hosts which is up and running. Let's set one example that if, for example, if on Windows 7 if you want to check that port 80 and port 443 is up and running or not. So what's the command of it? The command is nmap, we type sudo nmap -s t capital, T is for TCP handshake, okay, which is TCP connect scan, which is used for TCP 3-way handshake, right? And then we specify the ports as port 80, 443, HTTP and HTTPS, and we will write the IP address of our Windows system, which is 10.142, correct? So you can able to see that the port 80 and port 443 is closed on this particular host 10.142, and which is showing that the host is showing up, and it took 1.38 seconds to get this information. Let's take one example, as in if you want to see that the port 80 and port 443 of Google is up and running or not. So we type the command as sudo nmap, which is TCP, okay, and port is port 80, 443. We type google.com. Okay, so you can able to see that we are getting the information of the DNS records, which is the DNS server of Google, and we can see the port of port 80 and port 443 is open for Google. So this is just the example I showed. If in case if you want to know that how does it look if the port shows open for the network, okay. So as we discussed about this command, that sudo nmap. So this is the command that we just discussed now, where we use the sudo, which is admin permission, then nmap, then st, which is TCP connect scan, right? And we are using the port 443 on google.com, that whether these ports are up and running, right? So for example, when TCP handshake, TCP connects comes into picture, which means that this is TCP 3-way handshake. So you must aware that when you are a client, okay, when you're requesting a server, so it must be having 3-way handshake, where you are sending a TCP SYN packet, and then you get TCP SYN plus acknowledgement, and then the client will send the acknowledgement, right? But in our case, what I'm trying to say here is that the connect scan, when you send this particular nmap command to check google.com, then if, for example, if any of the network has the, obviously they have the firewall right inside their organization, and after that they're reaching towards internet, correct? So there's a router over there, then router, then firewall, and firewall there is the LAN side of any network, right? So when you check using this command, then the firewall must able to identify you as in what you are doing in that environment, that why you able to enter into it, right? But there is also an option of stealthy scan, okay. So under stealthy scan, what we're going to do is that the client and this is the server, right? So we are sending the TCP SYN packet, right? And once we receive the acknowledgement, correct, we like once we received SYN plus ACK, right, from the server, correct? So after that we are not sending the ACK. Okay, why? because because if the connection is open, as in the connection has been established, then the firewall will able to identify us. But for example, if you remove this step by sending the acknowledgement, if you are only about TCP SYN and ACK, because you just want to check this particular ports which were 443 and port 80, which is open or not. So once you are done with it, that if this port is open, then it is none of your concern to check that whether this has been established or not, right? So this is called stealthy scan. So this is why I'm going to show you next that how we can use stealthy scan, and I'll also going to show you in Wireshark where you can able to see that how the TCP connect scan, this one, where the three-way handshake is completely done, as in SYN plus ACK and acknowledgement. But under stealthy scan you can see SYN plus ACK and then reset. So the reset packet is there, okay, where the client will send and the connection is not established, it is not open, the connection cannot open. So firstly what we're going to do is we go to applications, okay, under recent use, or you can see old application, and you can able to search as well. So you can see Wireshark, correct? So we are just opening it, we are selecting our port, double click, and this is open now. I just minimize it, I go to my root, and what I'm going to do is that I type sudo, which is root permissions, NMAP hyphen TCP scan, okay, then hyphen port 80, 443 https and google.com, right, and press enter. So you can see we received all the information about the DNS of Google, which is 142.251.143.142. These are the two ports which showing that the states are open. Now we go to Wireshark and we can able to see here, you can see the packet number 22, 23 and 24. You can see that 10.141 is our Linux Kali Linux machine. We are reaching towards the Google server, which is the SYN packet. Then we received SYN plus ACK, correct, from the server towards the client, and the client's reverting back to acknowledgement. So you can see that three-way handshake is done. You are showing that we are taking random port number and we are reaching to port 80, which is HTTP, correct? Okay, so we are reaching towards Google and we are establishing the three-way handshake, right? Now we're going to see here that how we can establish a stealthy scan. Okay, so for that just go here again, what the command is sudo nmap, the same command here we are using uppercase S, which is stealthy scan, right, and press enter. So here you can see that again is showing that the state of the ports are open, services are open, then this is the DNS server who is reverting back to us, right? Now we go to this Wireshark, we stop the packet, and here you can see that on the packet 20, 21 and 22 you can see SYN plus ACK and again reset, so which means that the connection has not been established. Okay, you can see here that none of the packet, like here there is no three-way handshake done, because you can see SYN plus ACK and reset.